Are you a woman who's keen on getting pregnant and for one reason or the other, it just has not happened for you just yet? Or are you a woman who's rather fertile and this has meant that you have found yourself with some pregnancies that you did not plan for? Well, whatever end of the spectrum you may find yourself in, this video is for you. In this video, I will help you work out the length of your menstrual cycle and how you can use a calendar to work out the length of your cycle month to month. And following on from that, I will show you how to use a calendar like this to work out what your ovulation day is likely to be, and then work out what your fertile window will be. Once you know what your fertile window is likely to be, we will then be able to easily find out what days during your menstrual cycle you are less likely to fall pregnant. Hi ladies, I'm Dr. Kady. I'm a board certified family doctor. Welcome to Hey Doc. If this is your first time, you are welcome. Remember to show us some support and smash the like button, and do remember to subscribe. Of course, if fertility medicine and women's health is your thing. Right, let's do away with the fluff and let's get right into it. So first of all, how do you work out the length of your menstrual cycle? Before I go ahead and do that with this example of a calendar, and we've chosen the month of August just because we can, your menstrual cycle is going to be the first day you see your period blood. So the first day of the bleeding, right through to the day before the bleeding of your next cycle. So let me demonstrate using this example. So say, for example, you see the first day you see your blood. You started the month of August and the first day you saw your period was on Sunday, the 4th of August. So this is going to be your day 1. Your day 2, you're still bleeding. Day 3, blood. Day 4, more blood. Day 5, more blood. And for you, the last day of your period bleed will be on your day 5, which is on Thursday, the 8th of August. However, that is not the end of your cycle. Remember, I mentioned that your cycle goes all the way through to the day before the bleeding of your next period. Okay, so this cycle that started on the 4th of August, which was your first day, is continuing despite the fact that you have stopped bleeding. So this is day 6, day 7, day 8, day 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Let's get rid of these out here. 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. Then on the 28th of August, you start bleeding again. So that's the first day of your next cycle. Okay, so we're going to put a star here because that's that day, which is the 28th of actually it's the Wednesday, the 28th of August is the start of your next cycle. So your cycle for the month of August started on Sunday the 4th of August and went right through to, so Tuesday the 27th of August was the last day of your cycle for the month of August. So this may sound really basic for many of you, but you would not believe how many ladies reach out to me to say, Dr. Kady, I started my period on date X and then it stopped on day Y. And then I was sexually intimate on day Z. Could I be pregnant because I started spotting a couple of days later, or questions along those lines. They may vary ever so slightly, but they all go in line with this concept that I'm trying to explain. So please bear with me, because as basic as this sounds, it is actually helpful to a woman or even a young girl, a teenager that doesn't really know how to work out her cycle. So this will be helpful for all women. So bear with me, even if it sounds very, very simple. Okay, so we're just trying to carry everyone along so that we are all on the same page. Before we go on, let me define what a regular menstrual cycle is. A regular menstrual cycle is strictly defined as a menstrual cycle that is between 22 days and 35 days. That is a regular menstrual cycle. That essentially means that if the length of your menstrual cycle falls within this range of days, your cycles are considered to be regular. Now, they may vary from month to month, but as long as they remain within this range of days, your cycles are considered to be regular. So the reason why a cycle between 22 and 35 days is considered to be regular is because you're not going to have a cycle that is 25 days every single month of your reproductive years. That's not going to happen. The menstrual cycle is a wonderful and amazing biological phenomenon, but it's not going to be exactly the same every single month of your life. No, that's why we give it this range to allow it to vary. Anything less than that means that it is very likely that you're not ovulating. Anything greater also means that it's unlikely that you are ovulating. I've done a video on this channel about the signs that you need to look out for to know whether or not you are ovulating. It is well worth a watch. So take home message, normal cycle length is between 22 and 35 days, and regular cycles are considered you having cycle length between 22 days and 35 days, and the length of the cycles are going to vary from month to month, but as long as they remain within this range. Now, let's talk about ovulation, because obviously pregnancy is not going to happen without ovulation, okay? Ovulation is the release of a mature egg from one of the follicles from your ovaries. And this released egg will travel up and sit in the fallopian tube until it's met by a sperm cell and fertilization happens, and that is the start of a pregnancy. And without that egg being released, of course, you're not going to fall pregnant. So if we can work out when it is that ovulation is likely to happen, we can start working out when your fertile window will be. What is the fertile window, I hear you ask? Well, the fertile window is the time during your menstrual cycle where you are more likely to fall pregnant. Now that we're all clued up about ovulation and how important it is in the process of us falling pregnant, let's talk about a key principle that you need to understand if you're going to use this method to, number one, try to avoid falling pregnant, and that's working out your safe days, or when the best time will be for you to be sexually intimate in order for you to fall pregnant. That principle is that ovulation is always going to happen 14 days before the start of the next period. So let's go back to our calendar. The last day of the menstrual cycle that we are describing here is on the 27th of August. And that was the 24th day of that cycle. So we're going to use the actual date to count 14 days backward to find out the day that ovulation is likely to happen on. So counting backwards, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. So this, which is Wednesday, the 14th of August, is supposed to be the day where we are ovulating, where this woman whose cycle we're describing is going to release an egg from her ovary. So using this method, we not only know that she's going to ovulate on the 14th day of this month, but for her, she will be ovulating on the 11th day of that cycle, which corresponds to August the 14th. Now, the menstrual cycle is a great God-given biological phenomenon. But the menstrual cycle, as great as it might be, it is not an exact science. So it may well be that you ovulate maybe a day or two before your calculated ovulation day. So we're going to play it safe and we're going to calculate 2 days before the expected date of ovulation and 2 days after that day. 1, 2. The 12th is 2 days before. 1, 2. And the 16th is 2 days after our expected ovulation day. So this is going to be considered as our fertile window. Okay, so this period, so this window is going to be the times that the ladies who are eager to get pregnant should be targeting. Remember, just a quick recap, you're working 14 days back from the last day of that cycle. On that day is your date on which you are likely to be ovulating, and you need to work out what day of your cycle that's going to be, and then you work out 2 days before and then 2 days after. Why? Because ovulation is not an exact science. That was a quick recap. Now, it's all well and good releasing an egg, right? Whether your egg is healthy, and at times you might release 2 eggs at once. But without a sperm cell lurking around and ready to fertilize that egg or those eggs that you have released, no pregnancy is going to happen. So that leads us to talking about another very important principle if you're going to use this calendar method to work out your fertile window and your safe days if you are trying to avoid an unplanned pregnancy. That principle is that sperm cells can survive in the female reproductive tract for 5 whole days. So if this lady that we're using in our example has sex 5 days before the earliest day that an egg could possibly be released, which for her in this example is going to be the 12th of August, Monday the 12th of August, but the number of day for her cycle is the 9th day of her cycle. So for this lady, she's on the 9th day of her cycle when it is possible for her to release an egg. That's the earliest time during this cycle that she could release an egg. And that's the 12th of August, but her 9th day for her cycle. So remember that we've said for this lady, she actually stopped bleeding on the 5th day. So quite soon after, you can see 1, 2, 3, 4 days after she stopped bleeding, she can possibly get pregnant. So for you ladies trying to avoid a pregnancy, this is an important point for you to make a note of, okay? So as soon as 4 days after you stop bleeding, it is still possible for you to get pregnant. So now let's go back to the principle I've just introduced, that sperm cells can survive in the female reproductive tract for 5 days. So we're going to work back from the earliest time that this lady can get pregnant. So she can possibly get pregnant on the 12th of August, or let's keep it to the 9th day of her cycle. So we're going to work 5 days backward from the 12th, okay? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we see that as early as the 4th day in her cycle, and that would correspond to the 7th of August. But let's not worry too much about the actual date of the month. Let's look at the day of the cycle, the number of days of her cycle. So as early as the 4th day of her cycle, she could possibly get pregnant. Why? Because if she has sex on that day, although yes, she is on her period, remember she's on the tail end of her period. So the bleeding has started to ease a little bit. So yes, some of the sperm cells might fall out with the little bit of blood that is still falling out. But on the 5th, she stops bleeding. So there is a greater chance that the sperm cells are still going to be in her vagina on the last day when she stops bleeding. And all we have is, after she stops bleeding on the 5th, we have 1, 2, 3, and on the 4th day, she can get pregnant. So for those of you ladies who have been counting on this principle in using that as a contraceptive method, or banking on this method as a way of you not falling pregnant, and you think you're with it, there's no way you can fall pregnant, you can see why some ladies trip up by using this method. All it takes is for you to be out by a day or two, and here comes a beautiful life growing inside of your womb just because you were out by a day or two. So if you're completely against contraception, and for you at all costs, you do not want to use contraception, yes, you can use this method, but you must realize that this method is so susceptible to human error. Now, let's talk about our ladies who are wanting a pregnancy. They're looking forward to one. This is actually good news for you. So if you're having sex around the 7th, then, you can still fall pregnant. But really what you're wanting to be doing is around the 5th day. Well, if your cycle was 24 days, if that cycle was 24 days, you want to start having sex around these times, okay? That's when you want to start being sexually intimate, the 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th day of your cycle. And this is the earliest time that you might be able to release an egg. And you might even, depending on your bedroom energy, of course, you might decide you want to start that early on being sexually intimate, and then have sexual intercourse every other day. Have sex here, have sex there, have sex on the earliest day your egg could be released. Then that means then you are able to have sex on the actual day that ovulation is predicted to happen, and then on the last day. Okay, so it gives you plenty of time. Anywhere where I've put these crosses is, I often get asked the question, how often should we be sexually intimate? If you have enough energy, you could do it every other day if you use this method. Or if not, you can start being sexually intimate maybe 3 days before the earliest day that you could ovulate. And then for this, and because remember, it's going to survive in your female reproductive tract for 5 days. So you can start having sex maybe 3 days before the earliest time that you can ovulate. And that will be on the 9th. So 1, 2, 3. And then if you ovulate on the 12th, then there will already be sperm cells lurking around. Okay. So I would recommend, if you're very eager, you have lots of energy, these are the days when you can be sexually intimate every other day. This method is helpful because if your husband works away, or you yourself work away, you can use your calendar and you can use the previous month. And if you use the previous month and your cycles are regular, yes, there might be variation 2-3 days, but the general principle will remain the same. So you can know roughly when it is likely to happen even the next month. So the next month might be out by 5 days, but the bottom line is, you know that you're going to be having your period around, a certain day. So you can plan to be home 2 or 3 weeks around about that time, so you're not missing out the fertile window, and then you can start being sexually intimate several days before your fertile window and during your fertile window too. Final principle that I wanted to talk about is the fact that an egg will last in a woman's reproductive tract for 24 hours. If you're lucky, at the extreme end of things, if you have a super robust egg, you might have that egg last for 48 hours max. But usually an egg will last for 24 hours. So let's say our lady ovulated on the 12th. That egg will last for 24 hours. And by the end of those 24 hours on the 13th, that egg will die off. If she is lucky, it will last on the 14th. Likewise, if she ovulated on the 14th, by the end of the 24 hours on the 15th, that egg will die off. If she's very lucky and that egg is robust, it will stay until the 16th. Therefore, you have a very short window once the egg is released for a sperm cell to be available. If a sperm cell is not available, you will have sex after the egg has died and you will not fall pregnant. Now that the egg has died off after the 16th, from the 17th, which is the 14th day of the cycle, all the way to the 27th, which is the 24th day of that cycle, that period of time is considered to be the safe day. Okay, so let's label this. This is the fertile window, and this period all the way to this period are considered to be the safe days. I hope that makes sense. It looks quite messy, but if you take time out and you have a look at it, you will see that it makes sense. So the last day that the egg could be alive for is on the 16th. So if there is no egg, there is no pregnancy. So from the 14th day of her cycle right through to the 24th day of her cycle, that is the safe day. From the first day of her cycle to the third day of her cycle, that could also be considered to be the safe day. But that just means her having sex during her period. May not be everyone's cup of tea. So I'm going to use another example, so another cycle length, to hone in the point that I'm trying to make. Okay, so the next cycle length that we're going to use is, I'm just going to tell you the cycle length and then I'm just going to demonstrate. It's going to be a 32-day cycle. Okay, so on the longer end of the spectrum, but still considered to be a normal cycle length and a regular cycle. Okay, so this is going to be July, so we're going to have the 29th and the 30th of July. Okay, so she starts bleeding on the 20th. So I'm just going to label this as July so that we know it's July. Okay, so this is July. So she starts bleeding on the 29th of July. So that's her day 1, 2, 3. So her period started on the 29th of July and she bled for 6 days. So remember, the normal length of a period bleed is anything between 3 to 7 days. Okay, for this cycle, she actually bleeds for 6 days. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So her period stops there. Okay, her period stops there on the 6th day of that cycle. However, the cycle continues. The first day of the next bleed is on the 31st of August. That's the first day of the next bleed. So that's the next cycle. So now that we know the cycle length, we're going to work 14 days backwards to find out the day on which she is likely to be ovulating. And remember, ovulation is the release of a mature egg from the ovary. So let's count 14 days backwards, because ovulation always happens 14 days before the next bleed. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. So the date on which she's likely to ovulate for her 32-day cycle is on Saturday, the 17th of August. But it's her 19th day for that cycle. Now, 2 days before, remember, it's not an exact science. So she could ovulate 2 days before, and she could also ovulate 2 days after, so that we are able to work out our fertile window and we do not miss the opportunity when she is likely to release an egg. Because remember, an egg is very short-lived, 24 hours, very, very usually, and on the odd occasion it may last for 48 hours. So we do not want to miss that short window. So we're going to add 2 days before, so working 2 days from the 19th day of that cycle is 1, 2. So this is the first day she could possibly ovulate, and 2 days after the 17th is 1, 2. Okay, so this is considered to be her fertile window. From the 17th day of that cycle right through to the 21st day of that cycle, this period is known as the fertile window. Remembering that sperm cells can survive in a female reproductive tract for 5 days. So the first possible day that she could ovulate is the 15th of August or the 17th day of her cycle. So we're going to count 5 days from that day. Okay, so we will include the 15th. So counting 5 days backwards, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now, there's 2 possible ways that you could do this. For the ladies who are keen on not getting pregnant, they just cannot do with another pregnancy. If you start by including the 15th, so you go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and the earliest day that you could possibly get pregnant is on the 11th, you are really cutting it fine. Whereas if you exclude the 15th and you start by counting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, you give yourself an additional 24 hours whereby you're being really, really safe, and you're saying to yourself, anything before the 10th or the 12th day of that menstrual cycle, I am safe. Whereas if you don't count the 10th and you go from the 11th and say you're still fine after the 10th, you may slip up on that 24 hours. So if you are really keen on avoiding a pregnancy, my advice is do not include in when you're counting the 5 days before, because that's how long the sperm can survive in your reproductive tract. Do not include the first possible day that you can ovulate, okay? Because that will give you that 24-hour leeway. So you're counting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. From this day onwards, if you are having sex, then the sperm will be lurking around in your reproductive tract for 5 days, waiting to fertilize the released egg. So you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So if you've given yourself that extra 24 hours, if you don't want to get pregnant, the sperm cells should die off by the 14th of August, which is the 16th day of your cycle. And then by the 15th, which is the first day that you are likely to ovulate, they should all be dead. Okay? All the sperm cells should be dead by then. But if you include the 15th and you start counting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then you say to yourself, anytime before then is safe, you are really, really, really pushing it. But for my ladies who just cannot wait to get pregnant, and for you, it's going to be the best thing since sliced bread, it's not really going to matter whether you include the 15th or not, as long as you and your partner are willing and ready to have regular sex during that period, during these 5 days before the earliest day that you can ovulate. So let's start counting. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So from that day, if you can start being sexually intimate every other day, again, if you have the energy for that, every other day, then you are likely to at least have sex twice during your fertile window and 3 times 5 days before the earliest day that you can ovulate. So sperm cells should already be in your reproductive tract. So assuming that you have no pathological reasons why you shouldn't get pregnant, like endometriosis, PCOS, or fibroids, or blocked ovarian tubes, if everything is healthy and you have a good ovarian reserve and you are well within your reproductive years, if you have sex during your fertile window and 5 days before, you should get pregnant. Now, again, back to my ladies who do not want to get pregnant. Let's say from the first day of your bleed, if you fancy having sex during your period, again, I'll leave that up to you, right through to, let's say, the 11th day of that cycle, this is a safe period. Okay, this is a safe, or let's just call it safe days. Okay, so these are your safe days. Now, remember, the egg dies after 24 hours. So if it was released on the 18th, it will die by the 19th. On the 20th of August, which is the 22nd day of the cycle, all the way through to the 32nd day of the cycle, which is on the 30th of August, this is again your safe. These are again your safe days. So you can see that during your menstrual cycle, you have 2 possible safe days, period. At the very start of your cycle and towards the end of your cycle. I really hope that this video has helped someone. Now, remember ladies, this method is susceptible to human errors. That's why whenever possible, if you can use hormonal contraception, if you're keen on not getting pregnant, that's what you should do. If you're out by a day, 24 or 48 hours, you can get pregnant. And similarly, for my ladies who are keen on getting pregnant, a great tool that will help you work out when this fertile window period will be is an ovulation testing kit. I've got a video on this channel that talks about ovulation test kits, how they work, and how they can help you fall pregnant. As always, thank you so much for watching. I look forward to seeing you on our next video. And remember, children are a gift from the Lord. They're an inheritance given unto us by God alone. So I'm praying for you. Stay strong. For those of you who are eager to fall pregnant, countless other women who can testify that Christ has come through for them and has given them a testimony. I pray that the same will be for you as you are watching me. I can only share medical knowledge, but the gift of a child is from the Lord alone. Take care, and we'll see you in our next video. Remember to subscribe before you click out of this video, and check out all the other stuff that we have shared on this channel. Take care, God bless you, and we'll see you later.